Do we know where to go? This world is hard, every feeling sure.
Hi, I'm Isabel M.A., otherwise known as Dr. B, and I'm in my garden today. I'm going to talk to you today about different ways of providing learning for your child. You may be setting out on the adventure of homeschooling. You might be seeking an alternative to school. You may be wanting to inject something precious and new into your homeschooling practice. Listen to the next 20 minutes. What I'll share with you could help you be the parent you truly wish to be. Self-initiated experimental play with natural elements enhances the intelligence of your child. Singing, playing and listening to music does the same, and learning in an environment where you're happy helps you retain what knowledge you've acquired. These all sound pretty obvious, don't they? But it's surprising how even in the most advanced schools, even after knowing this, these areas of learning are still relegated to the corners of the curriculum and not practiced centre stage. So where does this leave us? The natural world exists as an array of complex interactions between climate, gaseous exchange, ecosystems, and fine energy networking. Billions of things are happening in front of our eyes with every second we stand on our lawn doing apparently nothing. Think just for a moment how if we consciously repurposed this wealth of ecosystem interaction and used it as our own personal playing field of learning, well, everything you ever need or want to know is available in nature if we have the ability to experience it. Shut up in classrooms, having knowledge imparted like little defined parcels, having to listen to and follow is the training ground we call school. Learning happens when we take in a new essence, compare it with what we have already and reject or accept it. To do that, we have to be involved with that essence, and usually we're not. When seated on a chair at the same time as our entire class, attempting to take in information we were not inspired to read, exercises we were not passionate about doing, and with people we may not feel naturally drawn to. You know how little learning can take place when your child doesn't feel at ease? Choosing from diversity enables your muscles of choice to develop. Having diversity in your world leads to an openness of the creative spirit. I've long been an opener of the creative pathways. It was a burning presence in me all my life and manifested in my adult life as having children in my early 20s, then writing my own music to pull the spirit into full flowering, as managing an entire band in an age where only sex and demonic sounds were being sold. It began to get too heavy and burdensome, and so I moved into more direct teaching and became a performing arts and emotional intelligence specialist. Parallel to this, I was creating environments where the creative spirit could find space and flourish. Interior design and garden design for families, schools, and kindergartens. I could feel firsthand the nurturing effect of living in an environment not only where beauty prevailed, but I was allowed and enabled to pursue any creative, investigative endeavour I could imagine. I cultivated the emotional intelligence within my soul, nurtured my body and mind through only engaging in activities which nourished me, and navigated my adult world despite the hardest obstacles sent flying in my direction. 40 years later, and the 10-year-old who had constant migraines attempting to fill every adult's unspoken expectations is now a woman who walks the talk in all I do. Why am I sharing this with you? Because I want the very best for you and your children. I want you to be able to give your child what they need to allow their full potential to awaken and blossom. I want you to be equipped to hold that vision of full spirit for them. In a world where great factions seek to homogenize, sterilize, and destroy the innate creativity of the true human soul. Strong words, I grant you that. But chemical invasions, ideological indoctrinations, and technological dependency agenda are moving us away from our human potential. Our world should be one of harmony and love between us and nature. Our world should be one of inner and outer freedom, with the choice to move, grow, and speak as our inner creative essence suggests, and not be cowed, restricted, or regulated from following the guidance of our soul. If your child is able to physically explore and interact with all kinds of diverse materials, textures, tastes, smells, movements, and different qualities of sound, they are using all their senses. Of course, then, you're helping them to lay a foundation for diverse knowledge. As the parent, you create the physical environment, both in your home and outside. You have great power to influence your child's growth in learning. As both a landscape architect specializing in creating natural play environments for children and a teacher of creativity through the performing arts, I am an expert in creating diverse, stimulating environments for children in homes and institutions, inside and outside. This balance of arts and sciences unites natural systems and processes with structural spaces. I can help you with reorganizing and restructuring your interior, your home, and also create spaces and places where your child can develop interactively with a huge variety of elements. And it's often surprising how gaining a new perspective helps you see your resources through completely different eyes. We all sit on huge potential. The trick is to reveal it, and that's done by redefining the emphasis on how you use your spaces and the elements within them. As a parent, focus is usually placed on the contents of things. What toys are you choosing? What books are you reading with your child? In the mainstream, very little emphasis is given to parents for how they can actually design their environment. Being able to safely and independently explore and expand the physical and intellectual limits of their own self brings confidence and a healthy sense of worthiness as an individual. We have the traditional ideas of what a child's first bedroom should look like. The baby cot, the rocking chair, the pretty pictures, the mobile. There's of course much more to this exercise. There's this idea of appropriation of space, ownership of space, safety in the space, and place signatures, the signs and symbols given off by your choices. And most importantly, what is allowed to happen in and with the elements of the space, the often unspoken rules. Having to combine the activities of what a mother or parent who is active at home needs to be able to be doing, as well as having a child happy, content, excited and interested, is a position seriously underrated. The skills of running a happy environment where children are severely undervalued by our warped society. As a non-monetary activity, no one is giving a second thought to creating exceptional design for learning in these spaces, which are truly important in the formation of a person's early life experience. I still cry inwardly whenever I visit a children's playground in Britain. They are so sad, barren, with wholly inappropriate choice of gadgets and materials. They are fit only for throwing up your hands in the air and despairing. On the continent, in Germany, where I lived and worked for 12 years, people really got a handle on diversity and using elements of natural landscapes. I worked with a group of people who celebrated the holistic developmental journey of children. They practiced the revolutionary idea that a child could move elements within an environment to create spaces within a place and have, of course, social interactions on their terms, rather than have pieces of metal stuck into concrete, which is basically all that we in the UK seem to be able to do. It's more than sad. In fact, it's shocking the ignorance with which we treat child development. More to the point, it's completely irresponsible. Whether you have a 2 square metre balcony, an actual garden, or a farm, there is so much you can offer your child in the realms of diverse experience which shapes the basic values of your child forever. I've written books on this which you can buy and read. With my Equip package, you can employ me as your consultant, and I'll either come round physically or virtually, depending on how far you are from where I am. And we can work on creating diverse, rich, beautiful environments, both inside and outside, to fully support your child's development. Your child's age doesn't matter. There are changes you can put in place for all ages. If you're just starting out as a parent or just beginning to homeschool and you know you want a different kind of learning experience for your child, input at this time can be fundamental in its impact. It's rather like launching a ship without having an ocean beneath you to start off. A helping hand can help you to think of all the elements you can include and provide, often with relative ease. I know, as I had to do this all alone as a single mother of 3 glorious children many years ago. Removing the fear in any process of change is essential for a happy transition. When you read the books or work with me as your coach, we'll talk about physical elements, natural elements, but also emotional elements. Within the setting of your home and the emotional interactions between family members, an emotional atmosphere and behavioural codes play a huge role in the child development and learning.
I wake up in the morning and decide I'm going to have a beautiful day.
This doesn't mean we have to be happy all the time, but clarity and authenticity are essential for a child to be able to map her own emotions. A great deal of my work is working in emotional intelligence. If you can know what you're feeling, you can help your child to give his emotions labels and express these more fully. Emotion being the communicating language of the soul. I've detailed all of these different issues in my 2 books, From Duty to Joy, the handbook to children's 5D learning, which helps you understand all the elements involved in learning and how to work with them, and Activating Creativity through Source Energy, which really discusses what creativity is and how indeed to activate and nurture your innate creativity. Seeing so many requiring emotional and cognitive repair in the adult world, I wanted to offer this information to children from the outset. The creative arts are both brilliant for clearing energy and emotions, for understanding them, and for being able to move between emotions up and down the emotional scale. The art of singing is an incredibly powerful medium to restore and increase personal vibrational frequency, as well as dance. In addition to songwriting, graphic, artistic expression, and writing itself, all forms of emotional expression enable a child to find themselves in their own environment, their own intelligence, self-worth, and value. And I've practiced this for decades now. And there's also mathematics and physics, history, languages, chemistry, biology, the list goes on. I can safely say I've taught aspects of these over the years in my singing and drama lessons. Everything is entwined. The less we make the separations, the more access we have to lateral thinking and endless solutions.
It's gonna be beautiful, smiley, lovely, shiny, sparkly.
When designing your home learning environment, I would take a several-pronged approach. The personal emotional, the physical, and the intellectual. Together these make up the sphere in which your child is growing in the world. Personal emotional can be supported by talking through your intended process and giving you encouragement and guidance. The physical takes the form of a walk around your house, looking at changes you can make to facilitate home learning, and the intellectual is in providing you with a lot of thought on approaches to take in the form of my books and their reference pages. We have as parents the right to control what comes into our family environment, and it really is important to be a conscious gatekeeper in this world. We're currently in a battle state. Very ugly things are being discovered left, right and centre, hidden in plain sight. Our job as the nurturer is to see what beauty we can find, what diversity, what brilliance, what joy and what challenge, and find ways of giving these to our children. We may choose a certain school that may support that, or it may be that you're creating your own vision of education at home. I love to help you with either of those, knowing as I do how vital these things are. The Great Awakening is percolating through to parents who are realising they can take back the right to be a designer of their child's experience. As facilitator and enabler of the growth of their child's soul, you're the very beautiful, nurturing, true motherhood. You could call it the revival of the deep feminine essence, and the men are starting to feel it too in the wish to come back to that beautiful image of the family. Women have been calling for the re-emergence of the divine masculine, the space holder for the nurturer. The woman, as the natural holder of the child in her womb, is the one who's linked, of course, to the child physically through placental cells which travel through her system from the baby, and of course, spiritually. There's always a link from the child to both parents. It's a very beautiful thing to see that more people are starting to truly value what we have for so long seriously undervalued, despite the best efforts of control factions to devalue the family. Having experienced the worst of this separation policy personally, I seek to support others on this journey. I call my business the Speaking House because for me this expresses so much. The house in which you live speaks on so many levels. Many anthropologists are now talking about the language of architecture, which is conveying aspects of our hidden history to us. The everyday architecture of our spaces, the substances out of which we build them, the shapes, the colours, the uses, these are all revealing informational subtext to our children. Think of all those low objects at your child's height. Everyone is revealing part of the belief system of your lives. Plants grow from the ground upwards. As our children are nearer to the ground, they perceive its influence in a different way than we do. They perceive a tree in a different way than we do because of its stature. They see things way above their head calling to them to explore.
I'm given all I need, I'm open to receive.
We sometimes forget in our busy adult lives just how much is new for our children in the world around them, and if we're not careful, the system of education they're in, the electronic devices, the structure of school lessons can help them to forget too. We want our children to live in connection with their inner creative nature, and to do this we need to allow them to be in touch with as much nature as possible, as much emotional freedom as possible, and as much intellectual discovery. The Speaking House is all about what we have going on in our homes. As a great language, we can manipulate this for the best possible way to present this world to our children. The layers of values, ideas and possibilities are written in the way we're designing, using and filling our spaces. We can choose to enable greater potential for experience by how we arrange, place and use objects, decorations, spaces and living, breathing beings, plants and animals. If you decide to purchase my Equip course, not only will I be helping to get your child kick-started back onto their creative path with the Enchanted Learning course, freeing up their mind to increase their self-confidence and internal trust, but I'll be helping you to make the necessary physical and emotional changes to allow true learning for your child to unfold naturally at home. Simple changes can bring about huge results. It's the difference between an invitation and climbing through the hole in the fence. If you especially structure your home to provide real space for discovery, experimentation and play, you will begin to see your child flourish, secure in the knowledge that her work is not only condoned, but actively encouraged by you. One of the craziest ideas we hold in education is to ask different people to do the same thing. I have to laugh at it, or I'd cry, but this forms the basic tenet of the huge majority of our educational systems. We assume that we only have the money for one person to look after a whole class of children, and therefore there's little other choice possible. This encourages conforming and switching off natural tendencies of curiosity, which are the pathways to new knowledge. It gets crazier. When you get to university, they suddenly demand of you that you reveal your genius and complain loudly when your conditioning holds you back. All your life at school, you've had the genius knocked out of you because you had to do the same as everyone else at the same time, and then suddenly you go to university and they accuse you of having none because their systems caused it to become so deeply hidden. If we are told often and long enough that we have to hide our creative impulses, we teach ourselves to forget them and wonder why we as adults often feel so lost and out of touch with the natural guidance of our inner being. I am so passionate and excited about bringing these levels of awareness, possibility, joy, excitement and discovery to you and your children. And this is why I continue to write and publish books, author children's stories, my Milo Teal series, Transmissions from the Planet Zog, Clepsydra Turnabout and the Upside Downers. I'm thrilled that I've come to this place in my life, that all my diverse experience is here to serve parents where they need it the most. In the transition to an holistic society where we live in harmony with ourselves and our planet, I offer you a part in this creative, exciting adventure, creating the place and the space for your child to love and grow and turn into the most glorious human being. You can find my work at www.inspiration.biz. Thank you. I'm Dr. Isabel M.A. Barkley, also known as Isabel M.A. and Dr. B.
What's the point in singing?